Hello, everyone. I'm Siren Jag. I'm a makeup enthusiast and a commentator on the drama end of the true crime community here on YouTube. I'm also a panel hopper, and I do part time comedy and music and anything else I like here on the platform. And tonight, I am doing one of my heavy drama streams. You see, Halloween has come and gone. And I just did the Halloween version of the heavy drama stream, and I had quite the uh, positive response that I had several ghost stories that I did not use. And I figured, why not use them? So I'm going to incorporate quite a few of them into this one. So we have the lighting. We have the lighting. So here we go. As always, I've gathered stories from the internet, books, movies, plays, short stories, and I'm going to present the coldest reading that I possibly can. You'll get my first creative effort. And if I need any type of break or anything like that, you will see this. Oh, don't I look lovely? Hmm. What's on my face will be in the description. And without any further ado, ado, we're going to get started. Oh, wait, I'm going to take my break right off the bat. I can't let you see me blow my nose. Gosh, what would that be? No, we can't have that. No, no. Mummy don't know Daddy's getting hot at the body shop, doing something unholy. He lucky, yeah, ooh. He lucky, yeah, yeah. He lucky, yeah. He lucky, yeah. A lucky girl. She got married to a boy like you. She'd kick you out if she ever knew about all the you tell me that you do. Dirty boy. You know everyone is talking on the scene. I hear them whispering about the places that you've been and how you don't know how to keep your business clean. Oh, Mummy don't know Daddy's getting hot at the body shop, doing something unholy. He's sat back while she's dropping it. She be popping it. Yeah, she put it down slowly. Ooh, oh. He left his kids at home so he can get that Mummy don't know Daddy's getting hot at the body shop doing something unholy. Woo! Oh my. Oh, Daddy, where did you go? I don't think that's the right type of mechanic. Oh, I don't think that's the lube job they meant for 99.95. Oh, they're changing his fluids. Oh, I think he's a quart low. Oh my. Oh, oh, behave. Oh, I have a poem. I have a poem. Oh, There once was a man from Peru whose limericks stopped at line 2. Oh, I guess that's all of that one. Oh well. The girl hurried through her schoolwork as fast as she could. It was the night of the high school dance, along about 70 years ago in the town of Kingsville, Texas. The girl was so excited about the dance. She had bought a brand new sparkly red dress for the dance. She knew she looked smashing in it. It was going to be the best evening of her life. Then her mother came in the house, looking pale and determined. "You're not going to that dance," her mother said. "But why?" the girl asked her mother. "I've just been talking to the preacher. He says the dance is going to be for the devil. You are absolutely forbidden to go," her mother said. The girl nodded as if she accepted her mother's words, but she was determined to go to the dance. As soon as her mother was busy, she put on her brand new red dress and ran down to the KC Hall where the dance was being held. As soon as she walked into the room, all the guys turned to look at her. She was startled by all the attention. Normally, no one noticed her. Her mother sometimes accused her of being too awkward to get a boyfriend, but she was not awkward that night. The boys in her class were fighting with each other to dance with her. Later, she broke away from the crowd and went to the table to get some punch to drink. She heard a sudden rush and a hush. The music stopped. When she turned, she saw a handsome man with jet black hair and clothes standing next to her. "Dance with me," he said. She managed to stammer a yes. Completely stunned by this gorgeous man, he led her out on the dance floor. The music sprang up at once. She found herself dancing better than she had ever danced before. They were the center of attention. Then the man spun her around and around. She gasped for breath, trying to step out of the spin, but he spun her faster and faster. Her feet felt hot. The floor seemed to melt under her. He spun her even faster. She was spinning so fast that a cloud of dust flew up around them both so that they were hidden from the crowd. When the dust settled, the girl was gone. The man in black bowed once to the crowd and disappeared. The devil had come to his party, and he had spun the girl all the way to hell. Oh, did you know that tongue twisters are within my realm of expertise? Yes, they are. Yes, they are. This one is in difficulty, I'll rate it a 7, but in danger rating, I'll rate it a 10. Yes, it is a 10 in danger. You'll see why. Yes, you'll see why. I'll say, I'm not the pheasant plucker. I'm the pheasant plucker's son, and I'll keep on plucking pheasants till the pheasant plucking's done. Oh, that was easier than I thought. I'm not the pheasant plucker. I'm the pheasant plucker's son, and I'll keep on plucking pheasants till the pheasant plucking's done. Now, you all pause and try it at home. Go ahead. Go ahead. Obviously, you can't do this on the original play, but, well, you know. You know. You can't hear me. You can't hear me. You can't hear what I'm saying. You can't hear what I'm saying to you. You watch the clock move the slow hand. I should have been home hours ago, but I'm not here. But I'm not here. You can't hear me. You can't hear me. You can't feel me here in the room with you now. You can't hear what I'm saying. You don't hear what I'm saying, do you? Can't let you know what's been happening. There's a ghost in our home, just watching you without me. I'm not here, but I'm not here. But I'm not here. You don't hear what I'm saying. Don't ignore. Don't ignore me. We see you here. You don't hear me come in. Help me. Talk to me. Listen to me. Listen to me. Talk to me. Help. Listen, baby. Listen to me. Help me. Talk to me. Talk to me. Please, baby. Talk to me. You won't hear me leaving. Way back in the deep woods, there lived a scrawny old woman who had a reputation for being the best conjuring woman in the Ozarks. With her bedraggled black and gray hair, funny eyes, one yellow and one green, and her crooked nose, old Betty was not a pretty picture. But she was the best there was at fixing what ailed a man, and that was all that counted. Old Betty's house was full of herbs and roots and bottles filled with conjuring medicine. The walls were lined with strange books brimming with magical spells. Old Betty was the only one living in the hollow who knew how to read. Her granny, who was also a conjurer, had taught her the skill as part of her magical training. Just about the only friend old Betty had was a tough, mean, ugly old razorback hog that ran wild round her place. It rooted so much in her kitchen garbage that all the leftover spells started affecting it. Some folks swore up and down that the old razorback hog sometimes walked upright like man. One fellow claimed he'd seen the pig sitting in the rocker on old Betty's porch, chattering away to her while she stewed up some potions in the kitchen. But everyone discounted that story on account of the fellow who told it was a little too fond of moonshine. Rawhead was the name old Betty gave the razorback, referring maybe to the way the ugly creature looked a bit like some of the dead pigs come butchering time in Hog Scald Hollow. The razorback didn't mind the funny name. Rawhead kept following old Betty around her little cabin and rooting up the kitchen leftovers. He'd even walk to town with her when she came to the local mercantile to sell her home remedies. Well, folks in town got so used to seeing Rawhead and old Betty around the town that it looked mighty strange one day around hog driving time when old Betty came to the mercantile without him. "Where's Rawhead?" the owner asked as he accepted her basket full of home remedy potions. The liquid in the bottles swished in an agitated manner as old Betty said, "I ain't seen him around today, and I'm mighty worried. You seen him here in town?" "Nobody's seen him around today. They would have told me if they did," the mercantile owner said. "We'll keep a lookout for you." "That's mighty kind of you. If you see him, tell him to come home straight away," old Betty said. The mercantile owner nodded agreement as he handed over her weekly pay. Old Betty fussed to herself all the way home. It wasn't like Rawhead to disappear, especially not the day they went to town. The man at the mercantile always saved the best scraps for the mean old razorback, and Rawhead never missed a visit. When the old conjuring woman got home, she mixed up a potion and poured it onto a flat plate. "Where's that old hog got to?" she asked the liquid. It clouded over, and then a series of pictures formed. First, old Betty saw the good for nothing hunter that lived on the next ridge, sneaking around the forest, rounding up razorback hogs that didn't belong to him. One of the hogs was Rawhead. Then she saw him taking the hogs down to Hog Scald Hollow, where folks from the next town were slaughtering their razorbacks. Then she saw her hog, Rawhead, slaughtered with the rest of the pigs and hung up forgotten. The final picture in the liquid was the pile of bloody bones that had once been her hog, and his scraped clean head lying with the other hog heads in a pile. Old Betty was infuriated by the death of her only friend. It was murder to her, plain and simple. Everyone in 3 counties knew that Rawhead was her friend, and that lazy, hog-stealing, good-for-nothing hunter on the ridge was going to pay for slaughtering him. Now, old Betty tried to practice white conjuring most of the time, but she knew the dark secrets too. She pulled out an old secret book her granny had given her and turned to the very last page. She lit several candles and put them around the plate containing the liquid picture of Rawhead and his bloody bones. Then she began to chant, Rawhead and bloody bones! Rawhead and bloody bones! The light from the windows disappeared as if the sun had been snuffed out like a candle. Dark clouds billowed into the clearing where old Betty's cabin stood, and the howl of dark spirits could be heard in the wind that pummeled the tree tops. Rawhead and bloody bones! Rawhead and bloody bones! Betty continued the chant until a bolt of silver lightning left the plate and streaked out through the window, heading in the direction of Hog Scald Hollow. When the silver light struck Rawhead's severed head, which was piled on the hunter's wagon with the other hog heads, it tumbled to the ground and rolled until it was touching the bloody bones that had once inhabited its body. As the hunter's wagon rumbled away toward the ridge where he lived, the enchanted Rawhead called out, Bloody bones, get up and dance! Immediately, the bloody bones reassembled themselves into the skeleton of a razorback hog walking upright, as Rawhead had often done when he was alone with old Betty. The head hopped on top of his skeleton, and Rawhead went searching through the woods for weapons to use against the hunter. He borrowed the sharp teeth of a dying panther, the claws of a long dead bear, and the tail from a rotting raccoon, and put them over his skinned head and bloody bones. Then Rawhead headed up the track toward the ridge, looking for the hunter who had slaughtered him. Rawhead slipped past the thief on the road and slid into the barn where the hunter kept his horse and wagon. Rawhead climbed up into the loft and waited for the hunter to come home. It was dusk when the hunter drove into the barn and unhitched his horse. The horse snorted in fear, sensing the presence of Rawhead in the loft. Wondering what was disturbing his usually calm horse, the hunter looked around and saw a large pair of eyes staring down at him from the darkness in the loft. The hunter frowned, thinking it was one of the local kids fooling around in his barn. Land of Goshen, what have you got those big eyes for? He snapped, thinking the kids were trying to scare him with some crazy mask. To see your grave, Rawhead rumbled very softly. The hunter snorted irritably and put his horse into the stall. Very funny, ha ha, the hunter said. When he came out of the stall, he saw Rawhead had crept forward a bit further. Now his luminous yellow eyes and his bear's claws could clearly be seen. Land of Goshen, what have you got those big claws for? He snapped. You look ridiculous. To dig your grave, Rawhead intoned softly, his voice a deep rumble that raised the hairs on the back of the hunter's neck. He stirred uneasily, not sure how the crazy kid in his loft could have made such a scary sound, if it really was a crazy kid. Feeling a little spooked, he hurried to the door and let himself out of the barn. Rawhead slipped out of the loft and climbed down the side of the barn behind him. With nary a rustle to reveal his presence, Rawhead raced through the trees and up the path to a large, moonlit rock. He hid in the shadow of the huge stone so that the only things showing were his gleaming yellow eyes, his bear claws, and his raccoon tail. When the hunter came level with the rock on the side of the path, he gave a startled yelp. Staring at Rawhead, he gasped, "You nearly knocked the heart right out of me, you crazy kid. Land of Goshen, what have you got that crazy tail for?" "To sweep your grave," Rawhead boomed, his enchanted voice echoing through the woods, getting louder and louder with each echo. The hunter took to his heels and ran for his cabin. He raced past the old well house, past the wood pile, over the rotting fence, and into his yard. But Rawhead was faster. When the hunter reached his porch, Rawhead leapt from the shadows and loomed above him. The hunter stared in terror up at Rawhead's gleaming yellow eyes and the ugly razorback hog's head, his bony bone skeleton with its long bear claws, sweeping raccoon's tail, and his gleaming sharp panther teeth. "Land of Goshen, what have you got those big teeth for?" he gasped desperately, stumbling backwards from the terrible figure before him. "To eat you up like you wanted to eat me," Rawhead roared, descending upon the good-for-nothing hunter. The murdering thief gave one long scream in the moonlight. Then there was silence and the sound of crunching. Nothing more was ever seen or heard of the lazy hunter who lived on the ridge. His horse also disappeared that night. But sometimes folks would see Rawhead roaming through the forest in the company of his friend Old Betty. And once a month, on the night of the full moon, Rawhead would ride the hunter's horse through town, wearing the old man's blue overalls over his bloody bones, with a hole cut out for his raccoon tail. In his bloody, bare-clawed hands he carried his raw, razorback hog's head, lifting it high against the full moon for everyone to see. Hello! I'm pretty sure you want a man bar. Man bars give you strength, make you run better. They make you go pow pow. They make your muscles grow big and wide. Oh, maybe I need one of those. I'd like a man bar, please. Oh, please. A large, thick man bar. Ooh, ooh, my. Ooh, maybe that's in my grocer's freezer. Oh, ooh. Excuse me just a moment. My nose is giving me a bit of a problem. So let's keep going here. Mm. Long lost words whisper slowly to me. Still can't find what keeps me here. When all this time I've been so hollow inside, I know you're still there, watching me, wanting me. I can feel you pull me down. fearing you, loving you. I won't let you pull me down. Hunting you, I can smell you, alive. Your heart pounding in my head. Watching me, wanting me. I can feel you pull me down. Saving me, taking me, watching me. I can feel you pull me down, fearing you, loving you. I won't let you pull me down. Oh, we have a we have a we have another tongue twister. Ooh, in difficulty, this one is a 9.5. And in danger, this is a 10. It's a 10. I'm certain it's a 10. I'm quite certain it's a 10. The sixth sheep's sick. The sixth sheep's sick. Oh my. Pause if you're watching on the replay and practice at home. Go ahead. Go ahead. Not sponsored. Peggy and her boyfriend Tommy were driving down a lonely stretch of highway at dusk when a thunderstorm came crashing down on them. Tommy slowed the car, and they crept their way past a formidable abandoned house. Plastered all over the fences and trees were no trespassing signs. A mile past the house, the car hydroplaned. Peggy screamed as the car slid off the road, plunging down into a gully. The car slammed into a large boulder, throwing Peggy violently into the door before it came to a rest under a pecan tree. Her head banged against the window, and a stabbing pain shot through her shoulder and arm. Tommy turned to her. Are you all right? You're bleeding. Arm. Shoulder. I feel bad. Peggy managed to gasp. Tommy glanced cautiously at her right arm. I think your arm is broken, he said, and he tore a strip off his shirt and pressed it to the cut on her head. I'm going to call for help, he said, when it became obvious that the bleeding was not going to stop right away. But neither of them had their cell phones. That house we just passed will have a phone I can use, Tommy said. Peggy's eyes popped wide open at this statement. Despite her pain, she remembered the creepy abandoned house. Stay here. A car will come. I can't stay, Peggy, Tommy said. It could take hours for another car to come, and you're losing too much blood. He tore another strip off his shirt and placed it gently on the cut on her head. Then he went out and retrieved a couple of blankets from the trunk to cover her with. I'll be back as soon as I can. He raced out into the storm, shutting the dented car door behind him. Peggy drifted in a kind of daze. Something at the back of her mind was making her uneasy. She slid down to the door and put her head on the seat, completely covering herself with the blankets, head and all. Feeling safer, she allowed the weariness caused by the wounds to take over and fell asleep. Peggy wasn't sure what woke her. Had a beam of light shone briefly through the blanket? Did she hear someone curse outside? She strained eyes and ears, but heard nothing save the soft thudding of the rain, and no light shone through the blanket now. If Tommy had arrived with the rescue squad, there surely would be noise and light and many voices, but she heard nothing save the swish of the rain and an occasional thumping noise, which she put down to the rubbing of the branches of the pecan tree in the wind. The sound should have been comforting, but it was not. Goosebumps crawled across her arms, even the broken one, and she almost ceased breathing for some time as some deep part of her inner mind instructed her to freeze and not make a sound. She did not know how long fear kept her immobile, but suddenly the raw terror ceased, replaced by cold shivers of apprehension and a sick coil in her stomach that had nothing to do with her injuries. Something terrible had happened, she thought wearily, fear adding yet more fatigue to her already wounded body. Then she scolded herself for a ninny. It was just her sore head making her imagine things. Somewhat comforted by this thought, she dozed again, only vaguely aware of a new sound that had not been there before. A soft thud thud sound, as of something gently tapping the roof. Thud thud, pattering of the rain. Thud thud, silence. Sometimes she would almost waken and listen to it in a puzzled manner. Thud thud, patter of rain. Thud thud. Had a branch dislodged from the tree? Peggy wasn't sure how long she'd been unconscious when she was awakened by bright light blazing through the window of the car and the sound of male voices exclaiming in horror. A door was wrenched open and someone crawled inside. She lifted her head and looked up at a young state policeman. "Miss, are you all right?" he asked, and then turned over his shoulder to call for help. Peggy told the officers her story and begged them to look for Tommy. They deftly avoided answering her and instead called the paramedics. As the paramedics carried her carefully up the slope of the incline, Peggy looked back at the car and saw a grotesque figure hanging from a branch of the pecan tree. For a moment, her brain couldn't decipher what she was seeing in the bright lights of the police car parked at the side of the road. Then she heard a thud thud sound as the foot of the figure scraped the top of the totaled car, and she started screaming over and over in horror. One of the police officers hastened to block her view, and a paramedic fumbled for some Valium to give her as her mind finally registered what she had seen. Tommy's mangled, dead body was hanging from the pecan tree just above the car, and nailed to the center of his chest was a no trespassing sign. Scooby Dooby Doo! Where are you? We got some work to do now. Scooby Dooby Doo! Where are you? We need some help from you now. Come on, Scooby Doo! I see you! Pretending you've got a sliver. But you're not fooling me, 'cause I can see the way you shake and shiver. You know we got a mystery to solve, so Scooby-Doo, be ready for your act. Don't hold back. And Scooby-Doo, if you come through, you're gonna have yourself a Scooby snack. That's a fact. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, here are you. You're ready and you're willing. If we can count on you, Scooby-Doo, I know we'll catch that villain. We will. We will. Yes. Yes, we will. I was out on the West Coast trying to make a buck, and things didn't work out. I was down on my luck. Got tired of roaming and bumming around, so I started thumbing back east toward my hometown. Made a lot of miles the first 2 days, and I figured I'd be home in a week if my luck held out this way. But the third night I got stranded way out of town at a cold, lonely crossroads. Rain was pouring down. I was hungry and freezing, done caught a chill, when the lights of a big semi topped the hill. Lord, I sure was glad to hear them air brakes come on, and I climbed in that cab where I knew it'd be warm. At the wheel stood a big man, he weighed about 210. He stuck out his hand and said with a grin, "Big Joe's the name." I told him mine, and he said, "The name of my rig is Phantom 309. I asked him why he called his rig such a name. He said, "Son, this old Mac can put 'em all to shame. There ain't a driver or a rig a running any line. Ain't seen nothing but taillights from Phantom 309. Well, we rode and talked the better part of the night when the lights of a truck stop came in sight. He said, "I'm sorry, son, this is as far as you go, 'cause I got to make a turn just on up the road." Well, he tossed me a dime as he pulled her in low and said, "Have yourself a cup on old Big Joe." When Joe and his rig roared on out in the night, in nothing flat, he was clean out of sight. Well, I went inside and ordered me a cup and told the waiter Big Joe was setting me up. Oh, you could have heard a pin drop. It got deathly quiet, and the waiter's face turned kind of white. "Well, did I say something wrong?" I said with a halfway grin. He said, "No, this happens every now and then. Every driver in here knows Big Joe. But, son, let me tell you what happened about 10 years ago. At the crossroads tonight, where you flagged him down, there was a busload of kids coming from town. And they were right in the middle when Big Joe topped the hill. It could have been slaughter, but he turned his wheel. Well, Joe lost control, went into a skid, and he gave his life to save that bunch of kids. And there at that crossroads was the end of the line for Big Joe and Phantom 309. But every now and then, some hiker will come by, and like you, Big Joe will give him a ride. Here, have another cup and forget about the dime. Keep it as a souvenir from Big Joe and Phantom 309. Explain to the Major that he has little to fear from this General Marquis de Montcalm in the first place, and therefore scant need of a colonial militia in the second, because the French haven't the nature for war. Their Latinate voluptuousness combines with their Gallic laziness, and the result is they'd rather eat and make love with their faces than fight. Yes, quite. Oh, as I've experienced that myself. Ooh, that was a night. As I found this tale from the 12th century. This is quite the old story. We're talking old. In 1182, a priest set out from Ulster to the south of Ireland on official holy business with his squire. They travelled from morning until dusk, when they moved from the road and into the edge of the forest to seek shelter. As it grew dark, the squire lit a fire as much to protect them from anything lurking in the trees as for warmth, as the priest was on a mission and knew the devil would be out to try and to lure him from his path. As the squire slept, the priest sat by the light of the fire, as the noises of the forest were all around him. He suddenly looked up, realizing there was no sound, just eerie silence. A snap of a branch startled the priest, and he moved closer to the flames as he heard a raspy voice call out, "Father, do not be afraid. I mean you no harm." The priest called back out into the trees, "Move into the light, my son, and I shall have no need to be afraid." With this, there was some shuffling, and the priest squinted into the darkness but could see nothing. The voice said, "I fear my physical appearance will cause you distress, and I do not wish to see you alarmed. I merely seek the help of a holy man." The priest replied, "My son, I have traveled to this country and seen the damage and deformity that illness and disease can cause. I will not be alarmed." With this, a great hulking shape emerged from the still of the night, matted fur dripping from its jowls, sharp pointed teeth glistening in the light of the fire. The priest was terrified, yet stayed calm, so as not to cause further anguish to his squire, who was now awake and cowering in fear behind a tree. Without a doubt, the priest knew before him was a wolf man. He had heard stories of the same being used as weapons among the ancient kings of Ireland as they battled one another. "Explain yourself, and know I am protected by the Lord God," said the priest. "Father, I too am a Christian. Years ago, my clan were cursed by Abbot Natalis. Every 7 years, 2 of our clan are transformed into werewolves and banished to the forest. When we return, after 7 years, 2 more take our place. The sin for which my clan was punished has long been forgotten, but we remain cursed." The priest knew of Natalis and his severe methods of forcing Christianity upon a pagan land. The wolfman continued, "My wife and I were very old on our turning, and she now lies wounded and dying in the forest. I beg of you to administer the last rites, so she may die a Christian and pass into heaven." The priest agreed, and leaving his squire behind, followed the werewolf into the forest. As they approached a hollow in the trees, the priest could make out the outline of the she-wolf. As she neared, she could hear her hollow, rasping breaths. "Help me, Father, and hear my contrition," she begged. "I want to," said the priest, "but first I need proof that you are indeed human under your fur." With this, the she-wolf used her last ounce of strength to tear fur and skin from her front leg and paw, so the priest could see she was indeed a dying old woman. He hurriedly gave her the last rites as she died. The grateful werewolf took the priest back to his squire, and the priest promised to call again. He informed his bishop, who in turn reported to Rome, documented in 1185. Despite his best efforts, the priest was unable to find the werewolf or his clan again. Space! The final frontier! These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise! Its 5-year mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one has gone before. Oh. Oh my, do you think they found any? I haven't heard. She commandeered the room in the basement of her dorm as soon as she realized she would have to pull an all-nighter in order to prepare for tomorrow's final exam. Her roommate, Jenna, liked to get to bed early, so she packed up everything she thought she would need and went downstairs to study. And study. And study some more. It was 2 o'clock when she realized that she'd left one of the textbooks upstairs on her bed. With a dramatic sigh, she rose and climbed the stairs slowly to her third-floor dorm room. The lights were dim in the long hallway, and the old boards creaked under her weary tread. She reached her room and turned the handle as softly as she could, pushing the door open just enough to slip inside so that the hall lights wouldn't wake her roommate. The room was filled with a strange, metallic smell. She frowned a bit, her arms breaking out into chills. There was a strange feeling of malice in the room, as if a malevolent gaze were fixed upon her. It was a mind trick. The all-nighter was catching up with her. She could hear Jenna breathing on the far side of the room. A heavy sound, almost as if she had been running. Jenna must have picked up a cold during the last tense week before finals. She crept along the wall until she reached her bed, groping among the covers for the stray history textbook. In the silence, she could hear a steady drip, drip, drip sound. She sighed silently. Facilities would have to come to fix the sink in the bathroom. Again. Her fingers closed on the textbook. She picked it up softly and withdrew from the room as silently as she could. Relieved to be out of the room, she hurried back downstairs, collapsed into an overstuffed chair, and studied until 6 o'clock. She finally decided that enough was enough. If she slipped upstairs now, she could get a couple of hours' sleep before her 9 o'clock exam. The first of the sun's rays were beaming through the windows as she slowly slid the door open, hoping not to awaken Jenna. Her nose was met by an earthy, metallic smell. A second before her eyes registered the scene in her dorm room. Jenna was spread-eagled on top of her bed against the far wall, her throat cut from ear to ear, and her nightdress stained with blood. 2 drops of blood fell from the saturated blanket with a drip, drip noise that sounded like a leaky faucet. Scream after scream poured from her mouth, but she couldn't stop herself any more than she could cease wringing her hands. All along the hallway, doors slammed and footsteps came running down the passage. Within moments, other students had gathered in her doorway, and one of her friends gripped her arm with a shaking hand and pointed a trembling finger toward the wall. Her eyes widened in shock at what she saw. Then she fainted into her friend's arms. On the wall above her bed, written in her roommate's blood, were the words, "Aren't you glad you didn't turn on the light?" Oh, I have another poem. There once was a young fellow from Sparta, a really magnificent farter. On the strength of one bean, he'd fought God Save the Queen and Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. Oh, that's that's quite the talent. I never made it through more than a scale. If there's something strange in your neighborhood, who are you gonna call? Ghostbusters! If there's something weird and it don't look good, who are you gonna call? Ghostbusters! I ain't afraid of no ghost. I ain't afraid of no ghost. If you're seeing things running through your head, who you gonna call? Ghostbusters. An invisible man sleeping in your bed. Ow! Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters. I ain't afraid of no ghost. I ain't afraid of no ghost. Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters. If you're all alone, pick up the phone and call Ghostbusters. I ain't afraid of no ghost. Ooh, I hear it likes the girls. I ain't afraid of no ghost. Yeah. Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters. If you've had a dose of a freaky ghost, baby, you'd better call Ghostbusters. Ow! Let me tell you something. Busting makes me feel good. I ain't afraid of no ghost. I ain't afraid of no ghost. Don't get caught alone. Oh no. Ghostbusters, when it comes through your door, unless you just want some more, I think you better call Ghostbusters. Ow! Who are you gonna call? Ghostbusters. Who are you gonna call? Ghostbusters. Think you better call Ghostbusters. Ha ha! Who are you gonna call? Ghostbusters. I can't hear you. Who are you gonna call? Ghostbusters. Louder, Ghostbusters. Who are you gonna call? Ghostbusters. Who can you call? Ghostbusters. This is just a hunch, but I think whoever wrote this song wants you to call Ghostbusters. But they never give you the forwarding phone number or the address. No email. Oh, they leave you perilously without any information. Massey was a soldier, unfortunate enough to cross me, his commanding officer. He did not live to regret it. There was something very satisfying in the moment when I thrust the tip of my sword into the soldier's heart during our duel. I watched him fall to the ground with the satisfaction of a job well done. The men under my command seemed depressed in the following weeks. They mentioned Massey frequently, but I ignored their conversations. But one night, I retreated to my chambers to sulk, and soon was joined by a delegation of men who were friends of Massey. I was surprised and delighted to learn that they had come to their senses and now saw the impertinent lieutenant for the cheat he really was. We shared a round of drinks and laughed together. I'm afraid I drank far too much that evening. The other soldiers suggested we explored the lower dungeons. That sounded like a fine idea to me. We set off in merry spirits, drinking and singing and laughing, our voices echoing through the narrow passages. Deeper and deeper we went. My head started spinning and my legs felt like rubber after all that drinking. I'm afraid I passed out from drunkenness, much to my shame. When I came to, I was lying on my back with my wrists and ankles shackled to the floor. Drunken men fooling around, I thought. Very funny, lads, I called out. Now set me free. The soldiers didn't answer me. A moment passed, and Massey's best friend appeared in the doorway, holding mortar and a mason's trowel. The other men began handing him bricks, and I realized that the soldiers are bricking up the entrance to the cell in which I lay shackled. Very funny, I said again. No one answered me. They worked in silence, laying brick after brick until one row was done. Then two. They were playing a nasty joke on me, of course. Then Massey's best friend paused in his work and looked directly into my eyes. At that moment, I realized that this joke was no joke. Scream after scream ripped from my throat as I struggled against my bonds. But the dungeon was too deep within the fort, and no one heard my screams. They were on the final row of bricks. I was reduced to bribery, desperately using my wealth in an attempt to escape my fate. But no one listened to my bribes. I watched in heart-thudding horror as the last brick was put in place, as the last chink of light faded from my sight. I was entombed alive in the deepest, darkest dungeon of the fort. I howled in panic, writhing against the iron manacles binding hands and feet and twisting my body. Eventually, I fell back against the floor, my wrists and ankles wet with my own blood. My fingers were torn and throbbing from their intense scrabbling against the hard floor. I found myself weeping angrily, though I've never shed a tear in my lifetime. The agony of the thought sent me writhing again, in spite of the horrible pain racking my wrists, ankles, and hands. Daylight. I must see daylight again. Just once more. Don't leave me here to die alone! Don't leave me! But I was alone. And the sheer brutal horror of it overwhelmed me. My eyes strained against the complete and utter darkness, and I wondered if they were even open. Dear God, I can't get out. I can't get out. I can't get out. I can't get out. No, you stay alive. If they don't kill you, they'll take you north up to the Huron lands. Submit, do you hear? You're strong. You survive. You stay alive no matter what occurs. I will find you, no matter how long it takes, no matter how far. I will find you. I was a highwayman. Along the coach roads I did ride, with sword and pistol by my side. Many a young maid lost her baubles to my trade. Many a soldier shed his lifeblood on my blade. The bastards hung me in the spring of 25, but I am still alive. I was a sailor. I was born upon the tide, and with the sea I did abide. I sailed a schooner round the Horn to Mexico. I went aloft and furled the mainsail in a blow. And when the yards broke off, they said that I got killed. But I am living still. I was a dam builder across the river deep and wide, where steel and water did collide. A place called Boulder on the wild Colorado. I slipped and fell into the wet concrete below. They buried me in that great tomb that knows no sound. But I am still around. I'll always be around and around and around and around and around and around. I fly a starship across the universe divide. And when I reach the other side, I'll find a place to rest my spirit if I can. Perhaps I may become a highwayman again, or I may simply be a single drop of rain. But I will remain. I'll be back again and again and again and again and again and again. Oh, oh my. It seems, it seems, it seems. It's tongue twister time. Difficulty level 10. Danger level 10. After this is done, your mission, should you all choose to accept it, is to pause this and attempt this yourselves. I've not read through this at all. At all. Puppy Pupperup was a pauper in Port Pound. Puppy Pupperup was indeed poor. He propounded a plot to his penny-pinching patron in order to promote his plan to appease his pets. You see, I have a purple puppy and a puny penguin named Peppy, who have polished out plenty of pounds of produce. If I postpone passage to my pulchritudinous pad, I will probably be promoted to prime PP porter. Please. Puppy Pupperup padded pronto to his pediptere post haste and promptly perceived the pungent particulate had precipitated the production of a prodigious puddle of pee. Peeking in his prime parlor, he perused a pair of pensive pets parked in proximate to the pernicious pool of piss. Puppy Pupperup peered primarily at Peppy, the puny penguin, and in post peered at the purple puppy who plopped pessimistically to the plancher. Peppy, the puny penguin, paced from pillar to post in a perplexing pantomime of pleading and passionate positioning. I'm innocent, Peppy the puny penguin puled. Puppy Pupperup pitted his perspective to the pitiful purple puppy who played the part of the pure pleading Patsy. Perplexed, Puppy Pupperup pondered his predicament. Peppy the puny penguin proceeded to point his pointy protuberance at the poor purple puppy named Puddles. I'm sorry, said the purple puppy named Puddles. Puppy Pupperup perambulated across the parquet and prostrated to the purple puppy named Puddles. Pardon, pleaded Puppy Pupperup. I had proposed to purchase puppy pads, but my petty proprietor perpetrated a pilferage on my pay. The purple puppy named Puddles and the puny penguin named Peppy plotted to placate Puppy Pupperup by pleading their point as propound. Puppy Pupperup, the purple puppy named Puddles, and the puny penguin named Peppy all purged the blanks, and they proceeded to play and pounce into the PM. If you're taking score, I messed up one word, the word please. Right at the beginning, I said peas. By my count, that's a grade of about 99%. Gary the ghost, he liked to make toast, even though he couldn't eat it. It smelled really yummy, put a smile in his tummy, even though he couldn't feed it. That first night, I awoke with a fright at the noise that he was making. I got out of bed and kept a calm head, tiptoed into the kitchen shaking. Then I turned on the light and saw a strange sight. I wasn't sure what to think. There was a ghost holding some toast, dripping jam all over the sink. He saw me there and said, I don't mean to scare. My name is Gary the Ghost. And every night when the moon is bright, I like to make some toast. And I don't know why a light in the sky would have that effect on me. But hey, I'm a ghost, and that means I'm supposed to be full of mystery. So tonight I was wishing for a nice kitchen. I ended up here for a snack. If it's not okay, then I'll go away and I won't ever come back. I said, Gary, you're not so scary now that we're face to face, but you made quite a mess. Please try to make less next time you stop by my place. So that's how we met, and he's not done yet, stopping by now and then, and I am mostly okay, except for the way he writes thanks on the fridge with the jam. Yes, I'm mostly okay, except for the way he writes thanks on the fridge with the jam. Stop it, Gary. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Bad form. Bad form. It is Thanksgiving season, so Butterball! Butterball brings you the joys of the Turkey Day. Friends and family drop in to bask in the warmth of the season. Celebrate this summer with Butterball turkey on the grill. Tender, juicy, surprisingly simple. Happy Thanks grilling from Butterball. Because who doesn't enjoy buttered balls? Who doesn't enjoy buttered balls? One or two? Two juicy butter balls. Oh, I need a pause. Let's see here. Yes, we have quite the lengthy set of stories. I didn't realize it, but we're going through it. Go straight to the store and don't fool around, his mother said sternly as she handed over the money. Your father's boss is coming to dinner tonight, and we're having his favorite meal of liver and onions. It's important that we make a good impression, so get the best liver they've got. I will, Ma, Tommy sulked. His mother had really been after him since he brought home a failing report card. Tommy grabbed his bicycle from the garage and rode down the street. But then he saw his friend Chad. Come on, Tommy, Chad called. The gang's playing baseball over at the park and we need a pitcher. Immediately, all thoughts of his errand fled from Tommy's mind. The boys headed towards the park. Tommy pitched a no-hitter to win the game for his team, but by the time it was over, it was dark. Then Tommy remembered his errand. The liver, he gasped. I've got to get to the store. But all the local groceries were closed. My mom's going to kill me, he gasped. First the bad report card, and now this. He would be grounded for life. As he rode home past the cemetery, he got an idea. It was an awful idea, but it would save him from the even more awful fate that awaited him if he came home without a liver. His great uncle had died a few days ago and had been buried in the cemetery. What harm would it do to remove it? His uncle certainly didn't need it anymore. Tommy hurried home as silently as he could and got his father's shovel. He returned to the cemetery and began digging up his great uncle's grave. That night, his mother cooked up the liver and onions, and the boss raved about the meal and had such a good time that he didn't leave until quite late. Tommy went to bed that night, relieved he had gotten away with it. He fell asleep almost as soon as his head hit the pillow, but woke with a start soon after, sure that he had heard a voice. Where's my liver? A ghostly voice rose up from the staircase. Tommy gasped in fear and flung himself under the covers, as the thud of heavy footsteps reached the top of the steps. Thump, thump, thump. The footsteps drew nearer until they reached Tommy's door. Who's got my liver? The horrible voice asked again. Go away! Go away! Tommy whispered repeatedly. His whole body trembled in terror as once more the voice asked, Where's my liver? Who's got my liver? Sheer terror made him suddenly bold. Tommy threw back the covers and found the shriveled white face of his great uncle right above him. We ate your liver, he shouted. I know you did, Tommy. The rotting corpse of his great uncle said softly, stretching out his bony hands toward the boy's shaking body. Tommy screamed. The next morning, Tommy's parents discovered their son lying dead on top of his bed. His liver had been ripped right out of his body. An old cowboy went riding out one dark and windy day. Upon a ridge he rested as he went along his way, when all at once a mighty herd of red-eyed cows he saw, plowing through the ragged skies and up the cloudy draw. Their brands were still on fire, and their hooves were made of steel. Their horns were black and shiny, and their hot breath he could feel. A bolt of fear went through him as they thundered through the sky, for he saw the riders coming hard, and he heard their mournful cry, Yippee-i-oh, yippee-i-yay, ghost riders in the sky. Their faces gaunt, their eyes were blurred, their shirts all soaked with sweat. He's riding hard to catch that herd, but he ain't caught 'em yet, 'cause they've got to ride forever on that range up in the sky, on horses snorting fire. As they ride on, hear their cry. As the riders loped on by him, he heard one call his name. If you want to save your soul from hell, riding on our range, then cowboy, change your ways today, or with us you will ride, trying to catch the devil's herd across these endless skies. Yippee-i-oh, yippee-i-yay, ghost riders in the sky. High in the halls of the kings who are gone, Jenny would dance with her ghosts, the ones she had lost and the ones she had found, and the ones who had loved her the most. The ones who'd been gone for so very long, she couldn't remember their names. They'd spun her around on the damp old stones, spun away all her sorrow and pain. And she never wanted to leave, never wanted to leave, never wanted to leave, never wanted to leave. They danced through the day and into the night, through the snow that swept through the hall. From winter to summer, then winter again, till the walls did crumble and fall. And she never wanted to leave, never wanted to leave, never wanted to leave, never wanted to leave. High in the halls of the kings who are gone, Jenny would dance with her ghosts, the ones she had lost and the ones she had found, and the ones who had loved her the most. The moon was a ghostly galleon tossed upon the cloudy seas. The road was a ribbon of moonlight over the purple moon. A highwayman came riding, riding, riding. A highwayman came riding up to the old inn door. He'd a French cocked hat on his forehead, a bunch of lace at his chin, a coat of glaring velvet, and breeches of brown doe skin. They fitted with never a wrinkle, his boots were up to the thigh, and he rode with a chill and a twinkle, his pistol butts a twinkle, his rapier hilt a twinkle, under the jeweled sky. And over the cobbles he clattered, and clashed in the dark of night, and he tapped with his whip on the shutters, but all was locked and barred. He whistled a tune to the window, and who should be waiting there but the landlord's black-eyed daughter, Bess, the landlord's daughter, plaiting a long dark red love knot into her long black hair. One kiss, my bonny sweetheart, I'm after a prize tonight, but I shall be back with the yellow gold before the morning light. Yet if they press me sharply and harry me through the day, then look for me by the moonlight, watch for me by the moonlight. I'll come to thee by the moonlight, though hell should bar the way. He rose upright in the stirrups, he scarce should reach her hand. She loosened her hair in the casement, her face burnt like a brand, as the black cascade of perfume came tumbling over his breast, and he kissed its waves in the moonlight. Oh, sweet waves in the moonlight! Then he tugged at his rein in the moonlight, and galloped away to the west. He did not come at the dawning, he did not come at noon, and out at the tawny sunset, before the rise of the moon, when the road was a gypsy's ribbon, looping the purple moon, a red-coat troop came marching, marching, marching. King George's men came marching up to the old inn door. They said no word to the landlord, they drank his ale instead, but they gagged his daughter and bound her to the foot of the narrow bed. Two of them knelt at the casement with muskets at their side. There was death at every window, hell at one dark window, for Bess could see through the casement the road that he would ride. They had tied her up to attention with many a sniggering jest, and they bound a musket beside her with the barrel beneath her breast. Now keep good watch, and they kissed her. She heard the dead man say, look for me by the moonlight. Watch for me by the moonlight. I'll come to thee by the moonlight, though hell should bar the way. She twisted her hands behind her, but all the knots held good. She writhed her hands till her fingers were wet with sweat or blood. They stretched and strained in the darkness, and the hours crawled on by like years, till now on the stroke of midnight, cold on the stroke of midnight, the tip of one finger touched it. The trigger at least was hers. Tlot tlot had they heard it, the horse hoofs ringing clear. Tlot tlot in the distance, were they deaf that they did not hear? Down the ribbon of moonlight, over the brow of the hill, the highwayman came riding, riding, riding. The redcoats looked to their priming. She stood up straight and still. Tlot tlot in the frosty silence, tlot tlot in the echoing night. Nearer he came and nearer. Her face was like a light. Her eyes grew wide for a moment. She drew one last deep breath. Her finger moved in the moonlight. Her musket shot her in the moonlight, shattered her breast in the moonlight, and warned him with her death. He turned, he spurred to the west. He did not know she stood, bowed with her head o'er the musket, drenched with her own red blood. Not till the dawn he heard it. His face grew gray to hear how Bess, the landlord's daughter, the landlord's black-eyed daughter, watched for her love in the moonlight and died in the darkness there. And back he spurred like a madman, shrieking a curse to the sky, with a white rope smoking behind him, and his rapier brandished high. Blood red were the spurs in the golden moon, wine red was his velvet coat, when they shot him down in the highway, down like a dog on the highway, and he lay in his blood on the highway, with a bunch of lace at his throat. Still of a winter's night, they say, when the wind is in the trees, when the moon is a ghostly galleon tossed upon the cloudy seas, when the road is a ribbon of moonlight over the purple moon, the highwayman comes riding, riding, riding. The highwayman comes riding up to the old inn door. And that was my heavy drama stream, chock full of ghost stories. Again, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, throw me a like. As always, super chats and super thanks are active. What I have on my face will be in the description. Now, you know the drill. I'll be along again. Maybe I'll have some more. So, until next time, thanks for sticking with me. I love you all. Ooh, this blue is everything. This blue on my eyes is everything, yo. Wow. So, anyway, love you all, and I'll see you all next time.